The case of the Mishnah is, we have a shtar, a document which is unverified, not mekuyam, and witnesses say is our handwriting, but we were forced on nusi minor or psuleidus, relatives. So now they're saying a story about them. Then we were relatives, then we were minor, then we were forced to say the testimony of a loan. There was no loan. We were forced to say that. So according to Chachamim, I believed. According to Rameir, really they should be believed. The reason now, because talking about the loive said that he wrote it, but he says I paid it back. Right, but without that echitimsa that the loive said he wrote it, and he said he paid it back, and the witness says yes he wrote it, but we were forced.
You agree?
If it wasn't for that story,
explain what echitimsa is for people.
Who doesn't understand the word echitimsa?
I don't remember it.
Okay, echitimsa means that's the only. It's a echitimsa is a special case. It's a echitimsa. It's a case. It's a special case. But without that special case, we'll agree. Yeah, but they don't understand the word. They said echitimsa or ukimta. What do those words mean?
Echitimsa is how do you find?
That's a literal translation. You find it in such a case. Okay, so let's go back here. So according to the Maskonas HaGemorah, why Chacham say that I believed, although the borrower admitted that he wrote it, but he said he paid it back. And the witnesses also agreed that they wrote it, but he said we were forced.
Why did there start? He paid it back, why did there start?
It's a good question. But he said I paid it. And then he gave him it back. Why he paid it? It's a quick question. But the witnesses say that we were forced. Or the witness said, the borrower says, I wrote it, but the witnesses were forced. The borrower says, I wrote the shtar, and the witnesses signed, but we were forced. And the witnesses verify that it's true they wrote, but it was forced. There, Rabbi Meir says that I believed, and Chacham Rameir says that I not believed, and Chacham says that I believed. Okay? What is the idea in the Machlokes? So, Tosfos brings down Rashi somewhere else. Seems to be the Rashi by us saying the same thing. But not Mefurish, and someone says it's Mefurish. And I want to use the logic, the lock, and the unlock. And we're going to explain two ways how to unlock the lock. Okay? Or 3 ways. 3 ways. And I want to explain, I think the 2 other ways are much easier than the 3rd way. Then we're going to unlock the kasha of Reb Kivei against Tosfos. This is what I want to do today. So we're going to go through the dinim of the Mishnah, Moido, Amon, of different opinions, Ramei Chacham quote those opinions, and Rishonim, they explain them, and explain them. Then you really see the logic, the logic behind how to unlock the problem. The problem is, Shtar is a testimony of Eidim. How can the Eidim speak later on and says our handwriting, but we were forced, according to how they believe, if the Shtar's on Mekuyah. But Shtar Midorais is a Shtar. That's the problem. That's the problem on the floor. And Rameir says, Rameir says, I not believe. And Tosfos explains Rabbi Meir why he's not believed. Because every shtar from the Torah is a complete edus, that is nechkas, investigated testimony. Just Chachamim gave you an option to knock it out with a claim of forgery. But if you don't say forgery, the shtar is a complete shtar. And once you know it's not forgery, because the loive admit that he wrote it, and the Eidim says they wrote it, so therefore the forgery is out by Mimela, by default. So Mimela, the witnesses are not believing against a shtar. It's a complete shtar. This is Rabbi Meir. What Chachamim argue? It's Chachamim. Why can't the Chachamim that I believe? So Tosfos explained because the shtar is 0. So we have a couple of pshat of the Nesivos. Shtar is 0 to the level that not only Zilfi can claim against it, any claim he can against it. Oh no! Even according to Chachomim, the shtar is not zero. Only we say ziyuf. But the reason why I believe, because they're retracting from the kiyum we said their handwriting. The loive, what he says there is nothing. And they said our handwriting will force. They're retracting from the kiyum, so it comes back to the original status, unverified shtar. You don't collect, you don't rip. Oh, well, that was 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago. This is what we learned. So on one foot, if I defined here, what's the problem, what's the unlock? The argument of Chacham and Gamein is to be aware of what's going on here. The problem is, shtar is a shtar. It's a complete testimony, is a testimony, it's a testimony that what? That is investigated in court.
And they did was also them.
1 second, but the shtar is not verified yet. So how do I perceive it that you need to have verification? Is zero or not? But the question was, shtar midoraisa is investigated in court. So how can you come and say, knock it out? Witnesses say we are false, but how they believe?
I don't see the question.
Now they say not believe. So what's the argument here? So really, the answer is, Gamein says, and I believe, because once she's not claiming forgery, means that by default is out. So then any other claim is fighting a complete shot. Says out. No peshosa, I don't need you. Not a migo, not I have to explain why there's no migo in a second later on. That's in the next stage of the shir.
You have a good start.
So a good start. So what Chacham argue? Two options what Chacham argue. Chacham hold that no, the shtar is zero not only with forgery. Once Chacham worried for forgery, they say document is zero. So then you can claim any claim against it.
Wait, how did you make that jump?
It's a jump.
Is it not forgery? Okay, we don't.
Even though once Chacham worried for forgery, so they basically said the shtar is a clay, piece of clay.
It's a piece of clay.
So then I can really knock it out with any claim, not only forgery, claim of anusim. There was no law. So really what I did, that's one option. The second option is, which means, according to this, they argue, they call it rosh berosh in Yiddish.
Head to head.
Head to head, in Arabic, ras beras. Head to head, kalabasa, head to head. They say the shtar is good, which is just when you claim forgery, but if you don't claim it, shtar is good, so you can't find it. And Chacham says, no, Chacham made it zero. So then it's really 190 degrees argument. 360, I would say.
So the level of their opponents, so what kind of argument you have between
the argument is how you define the takon of Chacham.
okay.
Okay? The second option is no. We put Rabbi and Chacham together. They both hold that really once Chacham worried, they only worried for ziyuf.
For what?
They only worried for forgery. Nothing else. And therefore the shtar is 100%. You cannot fight it. So why Chacham say they can fight? Says you cannot fight. You only can fight what we said. You need hours to verify that we wrote it, and therefore it's not forged. By Mele, we retract. I say by war force, we retract. We say we wrote it. So we just retract from validity of not forged. So now you have shtar that's unverified as forged or not, because it comes to ground zero back. So you don't collect, you don't rip. But according to the other side, Chacham totally argue. And they say, shtar is zero, even that forgery claim. If you have any claim against you, you destroy it. So then even when they claim it, you destroy it, you rip it. This is what we said 2 weeks ago. I explained the lock and the unlock. Now let's go now to the second stage, which is our week, Moidoe and Amona and Dinai. This is what we're interested about today. So we'll show 1 second, before you ask, I want to explain the logic of what I'm doing here. We'll see the same problem. And every Amoira, according to his opinion, the Rishon will explain how he unlocks it. And they use two logics. They take the same rabbit, kind of logic, and do the same thing in there. And therefore we're going to answer Kivegas Kasha. What do you want to say, Upstream?
Why you say the focus on if it's a cube, not cube, nothing? Say different, move it to different point.
What?
Focus is Eidus or not Eidus. Like that Cheshmos at the beginning.
What?
Chami must say, Eidos has a good Eidos.
Good.
Pishke Yakum Dova. You
Right.
have to go against it.
What?
I Pishke Eidim Yakum Dova.
Right.
You go against it. Maybe even against Shtar. Not because of Shtar, cube, not cube. Like, I Pishke Yakum Dova. Always Eidim.
One second. This is only one way. We took as an axioma. It's axioma. Axioma means it's a giving knowledge. Nobody would disagree that if you have a star, nobody can argue that. That's an axioma. It's a giving.
Why?
I'm not saying why. I'm saying this is the way the Nesivos brought two options, but both agreed to that idea. You're right. 1 second. We'll see soon another rabbit that the Rishonim use. What? 1 second. We're going to explain where there they use another rabbit. This is exactly what I want to show today. Exactly the point is, by us, putting Chachom Meir, by Anusim, we said, they're arguing how to define the star as zero, or if you don't claim forgery is something, or no, even you don't claim forgery is cheres, and if any claim against is out. That's one option, the argument. Or Ramei Chachom hold the same, that the star is great unless you claim forgery, but why Chachom says believe? Because they really do not believe to rip the star, they just really to retract what is here we wrote it. From that key, that the default, by Mimela does not forge. They retract from giving the knowledge that is not forged. But really, what they said is not forged. It comes out unknown now. Unknown, you don't collect, you don't rip. This is the two options we said now, but all use an axiom. Now, 1 second. What about Moidoy and Amona? Yes, what you want to say.
They have to use Apeshe also, according to if it's a kiyum or not kiyum, according to this two shopping. We have to get according to Apeshe also, Apeshe eating in one of the...
Obviously. No, to knock it out, to come Apeshe also. To knock out the kiyum as Apeshe also, or to find the star, right, to find the star, you don't need Apeshe also, it's an Eidos. Because the star is weak, so even Eidos, you don't have to come out Apeshe also. Apeshe also, it's an added factor. That we don't have Eidos, we have Apeshe also. Now, let's go back to Moidoy. Moidoy and Amono, here we have Machloket Amoraim. It's unclear what they're talking about, what type of shtar they're talking about. And it's unclear, they're talking about Torah Me'u Chachomim. All that, those two factors, the Rishonim fill in. And with the way they fill it in, they have to unlock the ties, and they bring different rabbits. So we're going to lose another rabbit. This is what we're going to do. What?
Again, the two main points.
Two main points is Moido.
Which is explaining.
Moido means announcement that the seller says I was forced to sell. And he announced and he told the witnesses and they recognized that what he's saying is true, that he's forced to sell. That's Moido. And Amona means that he signed a shtar of a loan document with trusting. Amana means emunah, believe, trusting that tomorrow is going to give you the money if he really needs it. And if he will, tomorrow's already the obligation starts on today. It's not Talmud. It's not an early shtar. That's shtar amona. So if the witnesses say, or shtar amona or moidoy, okay? So then we have two opinions in the Gemara. Okay? On Amona we have Ravashi and his son Marba Ravashi. Ravashi and Marba Ravashi says Amona they are not believed because they said that they are wicked. They signed the document as trusted loan. It's you're not allowed to do that because it can create stumbling problems and arguments. You're not allowed to do that. They shouldn't have signed that. So when they say they were involved with that, they're involved with illegal signing. So they say they're wicked, so they're not believed. But in essence, if it wasn't a problem, it should be believed. Why? So that is a question. What? Un momento. I know this diuk, and I'm going to coil around the diuk, and continue on to give a solution. We have another case. We have a case of Moido. What is Moido? Moido witnesses say, listen, we signed the document, but, there's a but here. What's the but, Moshe? But the seller was really sold it, and he got the money. But the seller had a tremendous force to do that. He was blackmailed to do it. And we saw it, he told us, he announced it before, and we saw it, and we knew. We signed to save it. So there we have a machloket. Rabbi Nachman says, Rabbi Nachman from Pupudita. He says,
He sold it or not?
Rabbi Nachman from Pupudita says a song from Uman from Pupudita, right? No compares this Amoyah, but just as a joke, you have to start learning with a joke. Why? Opens the mind. So Rabbi Nachman says that doesn't matter Amona or doesn't matter Moidoy. In essence, they're not believed. Witnesses that says Amona, even without the reason that they made a sin, because they all didn't make a sin, they're allowed to write a trustee, not like Ravashi and Mahavashi, which Mahavashi in essence agreed that if it wasn't for the sin, was over to be believed. Right? And he says no. There's no sins and they're not believed, not for Amon and not for Moidoy. Why? This is Rav Nachman. Now we have Rav Ashi and Mar Bar Avashi. Mar Bar Avashi says, I agree to my father that when witnesses say I sign the document as a trustee, they're not believed because they're wicked. But if they say Moido was the sale was by force, they're believed. Okay? So let's review what we got here. We have here two opinions. We have Rav Nachman and we have Mar Bar Avashi, which completes the story of Amon and Moido. Rav Ashi only talks about Amon, that is wicked. The Mar Bar Avashi's son says Amon, they're wicked, and Moido, which are not wicked, are believed. He can die from his father too. Amon, they're not believed because they're wicked, but if it wasn't for wicked, we believe against the shtar. Okay? But it really is not the same because he's talking about Amon, and maybe Moido is different. The Mar Bar Avashi says Amon, they're not believed because they're wicked, Moido, they're believed. Rav Nachman says, no, both are not believed, not because of the wicked. They're not believed against the shtar. It's an oral testament against shtar. They want to weaken the language of the Gemara. They want to mare le shtor. They want to weaken the shtar. They cannot do that. I won't say the word weaken. Aker, right? Le mekar shtor. Aker. They want to uproot the document. Uproot. It's stronger. It's much stronger. They want to uproot the shtar. You cannot uproot the shtar.
No, don't say more. It makes it bad.
No, aker.
No.
Yes, I just now look my eyes there and I found it. No,
He said Mari Barashi Bami.
you said Rashi, I said Gemara. I said Gemara, I was very careful. Gemara says to uproot. Now, good. Guys, let's go. And now, let's think about the logic what the Rishonim did here, what's unknown, and the Rishonim filled in the unknown, and I have to solve the problems, and they give solutions. It's the same logic, basically. So let's use the logic, and this is really what I want to do today. This is the Ikim. Siyata Nishma. So what do we have? We have Rav Nachman that says, Rabbi, that Moido and Amono, both witnesses not believe. Why? Because they want to approve the document. Which is, when they say Amono, when they say Moido, they're basically saying the shtar is good. They want to approve it. They want to approve it. They cannot approve the shtar. They want to oikir the shtar, approve the shtar. They're not believed. So why Mar Bar Avashi says I believed? What I believe? Mar Bar Avashi says I believe. How can I believe? So we have to explain this. Why? Mar Bar Avashi argues that you could approve the shtar, or is not considered approving the shtar. What is he saying? The same Hakira we had by Chachomim, by Anusim. The argument on Rabbi Meir that shtar is zero, I'm not approving the shtar is zero. Once the rabbi is worried for sure his shtar is zero, until it's not verified, shtar is zero. Right? So now let's talk about Rav Nachman and Mar Bar Avashi. Rav Nachman says they not believe because they want to approve the shtar. Mar Bar Avashi says they believe. What's the argument? How can he believe? Don't approve the shtar. How does he explain Rav Nachman? Why? What?
It says here,
right, but Moido and Emoni. So if it wasn't for wickedness by Amona, even by Amona we believe Lechoiro. So what's the argument? Rav Nachman says, and I believe, because they want to uproot the shtar. So why Mama, she says they believe, you believe they uproot the shtar? So one second. Rav Nachman and Rav Huna talking to Chachomim or going to Rabbi Meir? Question number one. Unknown. Question number two, Rav Nachman and Baba Rav Ashi are talking in a valid, Mekuyam shtar, that the shtar is verified or unverified shtar?
Doesn't say.
Doesn't say. Those are two unknown factors. And we find Machlokes Rishonim. So let's now make the journey. And look at the Rishonim, what they say. We'll start with Tosfos, okay? And Tosfos says a certain understanding, gets to unlock logically, and he unlocks it with the same logic, same rabbit that we before, but a little different. Let's see, and then we have Mama, this isn't Rav Nachman, Mama Rav Ashi, we see Tosfos. We're going to do now the logic, the problem, the unlock, and we see is basically the same way, the same rabbit, with one more rabbit. We had one and two now, one rabbit, now they're going with another rabbit, okay? They can use all one, the old one, or something which we can speak into now. A new rabbit, so now we're going to see what is it about. So let's see. Comes Tosfos and explains Rav Nachman. And again, let's focus. We want to explain Rav Nachman and Ma'abar Rav Ashi. What's the argument? Tosfos explains Rav Nachman. We'll explain in a second. Then we have to turn and ask ourselves. So why Rav Ashi argues on that? What's the people? What's the argument here? Okay. This is what I'm going to do now. So there's two Tosfos. One Tosfos by Rav Nachman by us. And there's another Tosfos in Baba Basra that explains, which I printed the papers, explains Ma'abar Rav Ashi. Then we have a Kash of Kivei, what had to come out, and we're going to have a very easy solution what Tosfos what they said. Okay? Let's see. Comes Tosfos and he says, that really Rav Nachman is talking about, even according to Chachomim, that when they say Anusim, they believe against the shtar. We have two options. Why do they against the shtar? Or because the shtar is zero. Once the rabbi is worried for ziyuf, shtar is zero, that's a Svar Chachomim. So therefore they believe to say Anusim. Yet Rav Nachman will say that they are not believed to say Amon and then Moidah. According to that option, we have to explain why Tosfos says, really, Rav Nachman speaks about the shtar as on Mekuyam, and even according to Chachomim. Even according to Chachomim, that Anusim that believe against the shtar, and we have two pshatim. They have to rip the shtar, because the shtar is zero, or they just believe to retract from the kiyum. Both sides we're going to have to explain here, Rav Nachman, because Tosfos says that Rav Nachman is speaking in the Chachomim. And when the shtar is on Mekuyam, so why Amon and Moidah not believe? That's a logic problem. That's a problem here. And he gives an answer solution. He makes a chiluk between the two, so kind of like a new rabbit. Let's see what he says. He says, by Anusim, the witnesses are really saying that there was no loan. Because they say we were forced to sign, there was a loan. There was no loan. So what really, they're fighting the shtar.
What?
They're fighting the shtar. But by Moidah and Amono, they agree that the shtar was kilchosar. The guy sold and he got the money. He had an external problem, not internal rotten problem. He had an external problem. Amono means was alone with I sign and obligate myself that will give me the money tomorrow. Sure. The obligation starts now. So when they wrote it was a das amischayv. Was a kabiki ilchato, what? Trust. But trust, and he had das amischayv on the base of the trust. But it was das amischayv, which means it was an obligatory knowledge of the person who wrote the kilchosai. I wanted to destroy by saying it was no loan, but it's an external no loan later on tomorrow. So it breached or it broke my trust, whatever it is. So therefore, in those two cases, they are fighting externally, not internally. Woohoo! This is what Tosfos says. And therefore he says, even Chachomim, that in the Mishnah, this is according to Rav Nachman, even Chachomim in the Mishnah says, Anusim, they believe two options, to rip the shtar, to retract from the kiyum. By Amon and Moidah, Chachomim will say, according to Rav Nachman, they are not believe. Why? Because internally, in the statement of Moidah, they say is external problem. Because the shtar is kilchoseh by Moidah, it was a loan with money. It was a sale with money by Moidah. And by Amona was a Das HaMischayev, with the trust that he will give him the money tomorrow. One second. So therefore, since it's external, so therefore they're really saying that the shtar is a shtar, so they're not retracting from the kiyum. I'm saying two options. By Anusim, we said two options. Or they're retracting from the kiyum, or they destroying the shtar because the shtar is zero. But we saying, Rav Nachman says, Moidoin Amona is either one of them is not out. Those two options by Rabbanon, by Moidoin Amona, those two options are out. Then the Steve is going to have to explain. Why they are out? Because since they admit the shtar was written Kil Chosan, so basically, and then they said, Moidoin Amona, so they're retracting from the kiyum. They cannot retract because why they cannot destroy the external? Because they always agree. When you can retract from your kiyum, and you put it at the ground zero. When I say what I said, I wrote it, I'm retracting from it because really I was forced, it was no loan. When I signed it, it's my signatures, but by force, so the signature is zero. So really I'm destroying, I'm retracting from what I said in my handwriting. But when I say I wrote it, but we were anusim, moidah, not anusim, moidah, which is external, so I'm not retracting that I wrote it in chosa. When I say amona, I'm not retracting that it was written improperly. Just saying external problem. So therefore, I'm not even retracting, according to that pshat. And according to the pshat, that the shtar is zero and I can destroy it, when can I destroy it? When I destroy it. But when I'm not destroying internally, externally, I cannot destroy it because the shtar internally is good, so I'm fine to shtar. This was the rabbit of Ri in Toysus. A big rabbit, very fat rabbit. Yes.
Why is Amana not like a Tanakh?
Whoa, wow. Because Tyson understands, that's why I specified 3 times to uproot from that thought. And I said, because when I wrote it, I had das HaMischayev. What makes a document a document? That when you write it, the two sides, the obligatory sides, is there with it. So that makes the cut. That is a investigated testimony. There, at the moment, was the obligatory agreement. He agreed to obligate himself. He lends him tomorrow the money. So,
but it's on a trust. It's on a money.
Okay, but that's an email. That's not really, but external. That's the point.
It's not really.
Rav Nachman defines it as external. We'll see now. The rabbi will get external. But first, they explain Rav Nachman, Rabbi Fenster, this shir will be classical shir about the whole Ramchal Shita. As we're explaining here, the pivotal point, the machloikes between Chachomim and Rabbi Meir and Anusim. Rav Nachman ma baravashi by Moidoy and Amono, according to Toysa, that's according to Chachomim. And we're using the Hakim of the Nesivis by Chachom and Rameh, the two options were by Anusim. We learned last week and 2 weeks and 3 weeks ago. We're going to use the same idea to explain why Moidoy and Amona, according to Toshas, according to Rav Nachman, they're not believed. And what's in between that and Anusim, according to two Pshatim, how do you don't have it here, those two Pshatim? And that's what we explain to them.
But in the case of Anusim,
consciousness, awareness of learning, and the logic what exactly that is the opposite, or yes, what do you want to say?
why the case of Anusim and Hamas Nefoshes is not similar to Moidoy? Because both
I answer. Toysa says not my answer. Toysa answers, and he says Anusim means the witnesses who were forced to sign on a document that was no loan. So when we sign internally, is a false signatures.
Why no loan? Yes. Why no loan?
What?
No loan.
No loan. They had a gun. Signed. There was a loan. There was no loan. But Moidoya there was a sale, he gave me the money.
But it was forced.
He gave me the money, it was great. So no, it was a sale, means it was a transfer of money. Now they saying the Moidoya means give back the money, but it was a sale. It was a sale. He gave the money and he sold it, was forced. So that's called a sale of Kilchato. That's what but just as a force, external, we define it as an external destruction, not internal. And more than that, the Rabbeinu Yoin and others says, they were allowed to sign because they need to save the guy from being forced or being killed or whatever he has problems. So now, it's a kosher signatures. So now we want to use the two. So comes Toyses and he says, Rav Nachman is talking about according to Chachomim, And he's talking about that the shtar is not mekuya. So you have to make a chiluk. Why by Anusi Machmas Nefosh in the Mishnah Chacham says there are believe two options. Or to rip the shtar because shtar is zero, and any claim you can rip it. Or the shtar is great, unless you say mezuyah, but they retract from the kiyum, and you don't rip it. Those are the two sides there. So why here Chachamim, those two options, let's use now here, by Moido and Amono. Rav Nachman says that by Moido and Amono, according to Toises, it's according to Chachamim, and he says, no, here's different. Why? Because I admit that the shtar is kil chato, and I want to destroy from external. So therefore, let's use the two logic. So although Chacham say that the shtar is zero, according to that side of the Nesivus, by Anusi, according to the side of the Nesivus and Toises, that by Anusi, why Chacham says you rip the shtar, because once the Chacham worry for Ziyuf, the shtar is zero, any claim against it is destroyed. So why Amon and Moido doesn't destroy it? The answer is because the Anusim of the Mishnah Nefoshes is internal destruction. So I'm saying the shtar is zero, continue to be zero. But when I say Moido Amona, Moido means I said was Das HaMischayv in the moment. There was a transfer of money, it was a complete sale. Just I want to destroy it externally. So even when I destroy it externally, I admit that internally is good. It's always there, sitting and internally is good. So therefore, the shtar is good. So I cannot fight it. When I say the shtar is zero, so I rip the shtar. But when I say myself, even when I destroy it, I'm saying I'm destroying with a hammer outside. And inside I agree that it's good, so I cannot destroy it because I agree that it's good inside. So therefore I'm out. Therefore even if he says heres, but when I do a kiyum and constantly, even with my hammer, I agree that the kiyum is there, and externally I bring destruction by my amano. So therefore it's not, I made it not heres myself constantly in my words. It's included in the meaning of my words. That is a kiyum. That's one option. According to the option of the Nesivus, by Chachomim and Anusim Achmas Foshes, there was not Mekuyim destroyed for Shtaras Cheres, by Moidoim Anoyah, they say it's not Cheres, because always internally, they agree there was Kil Chosoy. Now, once again, according to the side of Chachomim by Anusim, the second side of the Nesivus, that really the shtar, if you don't claim the Zui of the shtar, is great. You just retract from the kiyum. So why by Moidoim Anoy they don't retract? Because internally they say the shtar is good. Externally they want to retract, but not internally. So therefore they cannot retract. They're not retracting from the internal because always there. Even in the structure, they always there. Internal is good. So that's why they cannot do not believe. So both pshatim by Rabbanon, by Anusim, we can adapt it to this pshat and toises of Moido and Amon.
What's my problem?
1 second, before you say your problem, I want to wrap it and then you guys ask.
What?
But Marbar Ravashi has to be explained. Why according to Marbar Ravashi, what happened here? What? Oh, it's working again. What according? No?
Not here.
Shkoya. Make turns. Okay, talk.
And better ones.
Good, Baruch Hashem. So Marbar Ravashi, we have to explain that he argues on both sides. Because we said a chiluk between Amon and Moidoe, that both tirutzim of, both pshatim in Rabbonon, by Anusim, or you rip the shtar, or you retract from your kiyum, don't help by Amon and Moidoe, that Rav Nachman says, even though shtar is not mekuyim, they're not believe not to rip, because they rip there, and not believe to retract, because always internally they agree to it. But Marbar Ravashi says no. Moidoe and Amon are believed. Amon because they're wicked, but if it wasn't they're going to believe. And Moidoe they believe. They believe what? Believe what? But Moidoe and Amon is external, not internal. So we have two options. Or they argue on this internal, external, and the definition. Or Marbar Ravashi would say that you can find a shtar. That's what you said in the beginning. Toises and Baba Basa, if you guys have the Toises and Baba Basa, whatever, you open it. So this we have Reb Kiveger here. Look in Toises and Baba Basa, please.
Why we don't say it easier? It's the same.
Yes. What?
It's like Yerushalayim. Because if you have attack, what can they do?
Yes.
So with the Peshos and Pesach, it's broken.
So the Peshos al Demigo destroys the shtar, which means Marbar Ravashi argues that you could find a shtar. So why? That's what we want to say. That's one option. That he argues in the essence. If I have now two options, this is what I want to remove and give a. Toysa says in Boavas, I want everybody to look inside. Toysa, you know what Ravashi argues? He doesn't argue on the rules. He argues the definition. He says, don't define Amona and Moidoe as that I agree internals externally. Is Moidoe and Amona, it's like Tanai. So he's Sofa. Tanai means he calls Sofa. He's adding something, which is I'm not fighting the Eidus. We have two options to explain Ravashi. Ravashi totally doesn't hold, he throws everything we said until now. He says, no, I could fight a shtar. The shtar can be great, but if I have a migu, I can fight a shtar. Migu can fight a shtar. You can say that. That's one option that Kiva wants to adopt. Toysa says not so. Toysa says that you know why Ravashi by Moidoin Amono, he says that they believe Amono is a side problem, technical problem because they're wicked. But an Esau should believe in Moidoin, they believe. Toysa says why? Because the shtar is not Mekurim, is not Chayzer Magid, and the definition is Oisofa. He defines Amono and Moidoin, he defines like Tanai Oisofa, an added factor. There was a loan, I agree there was a loan, he gave the money, but we adding that there was a force. That's what he decided. Amona, there was Dasa Mitzchaya, but I'm adding to it that was a loan. He doesn't care as external. He doesn't care as external. But Ahmed says, I'm fighting the shtar externally, so therefore I cannot rip the shtar, or I'm not retracting from putting the shtar goes externally. Ravashi says, no, I don't define it external, I define it as a Tnaz or Isofa. And therefore, Isofa is no problem with Chayzer Magid. So let's make a rewind, 1 second. Let's make a rewind by Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman that says Moidoin Amon is external. So when I'm saying the shtar in essence is external, so I'm saying the shtar is really I rose, that's a mischayv, and internal I want to fight it, so I cannot talk anymore because I agree the shtar is even now when I want to destroy, I'm coming with an outside hammer. So therefore, it's Chayzer Magid. Internally, I'm saying I'm Chayzer Magid, I'm out. So therefore, I'm out. In what way that even though it's external, I can speak if it's Oisofa? This is Ravashi. And what Rav Nachman says, not Oisofa, it's a destruction. So this is really Toysa. So 1 second, I want to represent the kasha of Kivega, and then you go to, because I want to say my point. The Kivega has a kasha, why? Ain't you there? I'm looking at the Kivega in the papers. You will have the Kivega in the papers? What? Toysa Basre that I printed for everyone. Toysa Basre, page 40. Which Basre is it? Memtet 49b. I'm going to read Toysas. Ma Baravashi Omar Moidoy Advarinu Nemonim. Guys, wake up! Don't sleep on me. The Loidomi, they see it in Loidomi lechoizru magidi. This is not similar to choizru magid. Why? She'ein omelo moisifim aleidusa. They are adding on the eidus. Afagav the kshadiyom okemach nemoni. If they're handwriting, if the shtar is established, they're not believed. V'lo amrinu moisifim aleidusa. When the shtar is established, so why should I be believed to add? If the shtar is established, can I say it tonight? Says no, they cannot say it tonight. When the shtar is not mekuyom, they believe b'migu. Why? Oil ben choizim legamri meiduson. It's a chazor but not legamri. It's this middle ground. Because of Kivege, and he says v'tzorich iyun gadol. Lo yodati michichum l'doich hakzeh. I don't know what pushed Toysa to say it's Oisofa. Ela moisifim lo yodati miri lo doich hakzeh. O amano bevadei lo Oisofa. Moidoe maybe you can say it's Oisofa, but amano is not Oisofa. This is his decision. V'afal pikein Omar Aplozo, Omar Avashi. De'ene emonim shelo nitei likos, and not believe because it cannot be written. Da'ainu av lo yichosmu, aval avachin emonim. The reason I believe because they're wicked, but if it wasn't for wicked, we believe. And then you can't say it's Oisofa. Must be, what's the reason? Must be because you can find, Migo can find a shtar. When you have a migo, you can fight a shtar. So so he says, if it's so good, I don't know what post I said what they say. So what is he saying? But before the answer in the internal problem in Tosfos, I want to put in a way, if I want to put this is Rabbi Fenster, if I want to put in a logic way, what is a better hanhook? A much further argument, a much closer argument? What I should choose. And the Derech Halibah, when you're learning, you have a few answers. That the argument we call Ras Beras head to head, or the argument is much smaller, it's just not head to head in the same thing, but he agrees to what the other one says. He just says, I define it differently. The argument on the rule or the argument on the definition. So Kiva Eger, he say, I don't know, so you go to what push choices say what they said. Anyhow, they need to say that Migo is believed against Shah. That Ma'abawashos Migo believes against Shah. So also like by Amona. And therefore by Moido said the same thing, that Migo is believing against Shah. Why do you have to come on that because it's Oisofa, I define Amona as an added factor. And there's no problem with what push choices say. So if I put the two sides on the table, and I ask you, what I rather say Ma'abawashos? That Migo is believed against Shah when Shah is on Mekuyo? Or no, I rather say they don't believe Migo against Shah. It's just Oisafa. They're not arguing on the essence rule. They agree that if I have a Shah, I cannot find Migo Shah. And what makes a Shah? It's not Mekuyim yet. But since I agree in essence that it was Skil Chosoy, so if I agree Skil Chosoy, Migo is not believing against Shah. That's a Tzvah of Rav Nachman. So to say that he's arguing that, for me is a more of a dochuk than to say he's not arguing that. That when the Shah is a Shah, internally, Migo doesn't help to fight a Shah. What he's saying no, the definition is Oisofa. I define as Oisofa. Comes up Kiva and says, but you anyhow going to have to say that by Amonet, they're not believed because wickedness, but if it wasn't for wickedness, we believe, and by Amonet, you cannot define as Oisofa. But I know we have to say it's a Migu, and Migu is believed against Shah somehow. So say that also by Moido. Okay? But before we're going to unhouse the Raya, if I had a scale, Rabbi, if I had to scale two options to say what Shat and Ma'abawashos. First, I want to take out a little bit of the, how do you call it, the eres in English?
What?
Eres, the poison. It's a better word.
Poison.
No, poison, that's another word.
The point.
Of a snake, you have the venom, something like that? Venom. I want to take a little bit of the venom out. Okay, a little bit of the venom. That if I in Tosfos, if I want to choose in logic, two options. Because Rav Nachman says, Moido and Amono, you are not believed. Why? Because you admit the Shah is okay in essence, internally. So it's a Migo and a Peshos against Shah, you're out. There's no Choizo can't speak anymore. Or she agreed the Shah is complete. Then, now you want to say no Eidus against no Eidus, and there's no Migo and a Peshos are fighting a complete Shah. So we'll see why. We'll see Elias the Rabbeinu Yoino. He says once there's no Choizo Magid, it's finished the testimony, even Migo is not believed from Gzeras HaKos. It's in the papers. I taught yours. You learned the Rabbeinu Yoino, which I taught you to learn? Okay, so you saw it.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, we'll see it inside in a second. So, if Rav Nachman, so now, this is what Rav Nachman says. Rav Nachman says, internally I agree the Shah is okay. Externally I want to destroy it, so therefore I don't have Eidus against it. And by Anusim HaChazos I can have an Eidus, I can rip the Shah because the Shah is zero. Here the Shah is not zero because internally I agree the Shah is a Shah. So therefore the Shah is not Cheres anymore. Through constantly what I said, it's always built in that I'm saying internally is okay. So I'm not believing anymore, not to say Eidos, not to rip the Shah, not to retract, nothing, everything is out the window. So what Ma'abawashos would say, if I have two options, Rabbi, what I should choose, by Ma'abawashos, by Moido. One option is, he says, I agree that internally the Shah is a complete, I always agree the Shah is complete, but, I don't define as Moido and Amono as Torah Moido. I don't define moidoah as
The showing.
a hammer that fights externally. I'm looking at it as oisofa, an added factor. Oh no, I would say no. Rashi totally argues, and he says that even if I have a shtar, internally I agree the shtar is a shtar, Migo is believed against it. Right? Migo is. So why by a Muslim that believed with a pesha against a shtar? Not because the shtar is zero, and I said the shtar is zero, and therefore it was started to be a zero, and by a default I say it's not mezuyov, so that is out. The shtar is continued zero, and then I cannot go any eidos. What? So then, but the shtar was zero and continued to be zero. So by moido, according to Rashi, we say instead of saying oisofa, we say migo fights a shtar. Why migo fights a shtar? Not because they what? Talking to people, and therefore, so no, not really, because even though it's a shah, but no, not a sofa. Those are the two rabbits. The third rabbit was now he's eating a Kiva is asking a third rabbit, saying, you know why Rashi says you believe? Because Shemigo wins against shah, which means he doesn't disagree that internally I made it a shah. No, Rashi holds Shemigo against shah works. So what's my problem with this? If you say so why by a Muslim machmas momo machmas poshois that I believe the Kotech Avrahman, Kotech Gabonon? Why do I believe? We say two options: or the shtar is zero, they believe, and they say a Muslim there was no law, or and that's like Eidos destroying it, or they retract it from the kiyum. That's what they believe. And why by a mono and moidoe also Kotech Avrahman they believe? Let's talk moido. That what?
You can say the same thing.
That they saying what? But here they saying the Eidos what?
The oil killed before, they make nothing.
No, if we're going to say the option of Kivegin, you know why by moido I believe? Because I can say Migo against Shtar. Right? Migo is I believe. But the whole sweating that we spend by Rabbi Meir, by Rabbonon in the Mishnah, by Anusim Achasmon to explain why Anusim Machmas Nefoshes that believe in Shtar Zamekuyo, we swear it. We said two options. The shtar is zero, not only of zero, if anything is the shtar is zero. And therefore, when they say it's continued to be zero, Anusim, they can say any claim. Instead of saying there's a problem in Kiyum, they can say that the shtar is haspa because we're Anusim. Right? So I'm saying the shtar is continued to be zero. Any claim against, I believe. So if I say moido, I should be believing against a shtar.
Right.
As an Eidos against a shtar. Like an Eidos.
Because you're allowed to be costed. This you provide, this you
Right. True. So maybe this option is there. Which this option is there. What are you saying? But if this option is there, just one second. But then the Mava Avashi and Rav Nachman are arguing 190 degrees. Because Rav Nachman says, once the shtar, you can never fight it. And he internally agrees the shtar, so you cannot fight it. He says, no, even though it's a complete shtar, I still can fight it. Because Shemigo is against shtar, it works. Why do you shtar? Because shtar, because why? Because when I say moido, I'm saying is zero, even though I'm saying zero, it says internally. So any claim against a shtar, even as an internal external, since the shtar starts by saying it's cheres, I believe that, right? So in this shtar,
shtar against shtar.
yes, but so if you say that, the machloikes of Rav Nachman and Rav Avashi, it's extreme. But if I say that Rav Avashi agrees that when the shtar is a shtar, I cannot fight it. He just says, here, I'm not fighting the shtar. He took a no rabbi, he says, so he's sofa. It's like a nine. So, what I rather choose as a beginning point? Second side, so, Tzorich Yom Godel, who pushed them, what push Toises is, because I don't want to say an extreme achloikas, I would say they all agree to the same as just a definition. They're not agreeing on the rules. I rather say they agree on the rules than they say that they disagree on the definition.
It doesn't have to be so extreme.
What?
It doesn't have to be so extreme because could be that it's just a machlokas in the Tokele Dibur is mevatel even when you say that the star is kosher, the talk Kedei is at Kedei Kach that the Apesh also will break that, or not?
That's what Toisa says. Toisa says that says they're not totally retract from the Eidos. We read it also. Toisa says, what does Oisofa means? Toisa doesn't use just Oisofa. He used, when I'm explaining the logic, why Toisa is defined as Oisofa? Because, where is it? Toisa here. Toisa is like this, I'm read Toisa again. Loidomi lechois magidin sheino lemoisifi. And why do I believe? Because when Eksav Yodom Yotzimokim Acher Ne'emoni B'migu then Choisim Legama Mi'iduso. Oisofa means I'm not totally retracting. So he's saying I believed in Migu because and I'm not Choisim Umagi. Normally when I say Migu I believe against the Shtar means I'm retracting from what the Shtar is saying. Just I believe because I have a strong punch to knock it out by saying I can choizen through a migu. So you can't choizen umagi knocks out migu. And see Rabbeinu Yonah says part of the gzeras hachosu in choizen umagi means no migu helps. It's part of the Rabbeinu Yonah says inside. I read Rabbeinu Yonah inside. I mean, it says like this. Aval gabei moidoy. I'm reading here Rabbeinu Yonah. It's printed in the papers in Daf Gimel. Ma'abar Ravashi. He says. אבל גבי מוידוי דברינו דקמוידו באידוס השטר שראינים על המחר עבור אצל לכתוב השטר כימן שהגידו ואוידים בעיקר אידוס על שולחי זו מגידים ולא אימה שלא יסו מוידוי ואף אגב דיגמיגו דגזר הסקוסומו דכימן שהגיד שולחי זו מגיד דגזר הסקוס says when you give a testimony you cannot give another testimony to retract it's saying that you cannot retract even with dibu. It's not only if it's kavachoim with eidus I cannot retract. Surely with a migu, with a dibu cannot retract. It's part of the Gzeras HaKos. So once a shtar is a shtar, migu doesn't work, doesn't knock it out. So Toisa says, you know why here migu works against a shtar? Because I'm not really retracting, so I'm adding. So since I'm not part of the get of Choyz Umagi, so I'm believing migu. Because I'm not fighting the shtar. This is the way Toisa defines. So Kiva says, so Hingodo, what pushed him? Very similar what pushed him. What pushed Tosis was because if I say that shtar is a shtar and migu is believing it's a shtar, so really I'm erasing. So besides, I'm really erasing all the rules that Rav Nachman agrees to. Instead of saying I agree to Rav Nachman, just argue the definition, right? According to you, Reb Kiva Eger, he's gonna argue on the rules. So it's not true. Even I have a shtar, migu it works against a shtar.
Yeah, but you have to answer the question that.
1 second. Uno momento. So now we ask a question. What's this raya? Its raya is vayamono. So I'm reading again with Kivegen. Lo yodati mi chicham l'tredoi chagzeh. That is Moisof. O amone bevadai lo Moisof. He says amono for sure is not adding. Amono is not adding. Even though so, Omar Ravashi, they don't sign on Avla. Why they ne'emonim if it wasn't for Avla? By they kill it, so Isofa. There's Choyz Umagi. They don't say, since it's a hechsher, the shtar is hechsher, so then I cannot say migu to destroy a shtar. They don't say that so. What do you mean? It means he's saying that the argument is Yesoy. So what do you have to say? That by Ravashi that says by Ammon and I believe, Ravashi that says Ammon and I believe, So Amon B'Shtar, I believe you have to define it differently. That it is considered Isof. And the second one, I saw here while I'm talking to you guys, I'm reading the Rashbam there. The Rashbam is actually learning like the Kivega. And he's by Amono. He says by Amono, Ravashi he only worries for Avlo. But he says Aval le'akiras hashtar lo yichoi yishmar b'Ravashi. Dim Kain, Gabba Moidoa, my Nemonim. She learns that why Malba Rashi is believed by Moidoa because I can uproot a shtar. And Moidoa, I can uproot a shtar. If it wasn't for Avlo, I can uproot a shtar because I don't care about raping a shtar. This is the Rashbam. And not only that, the Rashbam says, the Rashbam says that by Moidoa, they are believed even if the shtar is Mekuyam. Even if the shtar is established, because it was a Mekuyam, they didn't recognize the shtar before the Eidim came, they are believed to say there was a Moidoa here. Even the shtar is Mekuyam. What do you mean the shtar is Mekuyam? How can you say Moidoa? So the Rishonim explain. The Ramban explains three stories. Kevon the Nitali Kosev La'atil Onus Me'alon Yisrael. He says, I'm adding Oisofa. So the Svar of Oisofa, Toysa says Oisofa, but it's only if it's not Mekuyam. The Rashbam learns and the Ramban learns that because it's Oisofa, even if the shtar is Mekuyam, because I can write it, I'm allowed to write a shtar to save the guy from blackmail. So since I'm allowed to do that, so therefore I'm not fighting the shtar. So therefore I believe even the shtar is complete. Or I'm giving a testimony that he's going to give back the money. This shtar says it was a sale. I'm saying it was a moidoy, give back the money. Or they're allowed to write a moidoy that is prior to this. If they were writing, he told them, listen, I'm blackmail. And they didn't write a shtar. Now, 10 years later, this is just a day before, then 10 years ago, 10 years later, they say, oh, remember there was a moidoy there. We're writing a shtar that one day before that was a moidoy. We have a shtar moidoy that prior to this. And therefore shtar gets a shtar. So since you could write a shtar, so it's like potential not allowed is like shtar fighting a shtar. This is all the Ramban svos. So let's go back. Let's go back here. What do we have? We have Malba Ravashi that says that Moidoy and Amona, you are believed, just Amona is Avla, but Mashma Be'etzim, they are believed. Comes up Kiva says, Amona cannot define as Oisof, as an eddy factor. Right? Cannot define that. So since there, any I have to say you are believed by a no even though without the avlo, you are believed, you know, it's not Oisofa. Must be that you believe with a meal against a shtar. So I want to read Toises by us, which is the same Toises Bobasa, that you see in Toises, that Toises wasn't clear to the definition of Amon. We're going to say maybe another Pshat. Let's see in Toises by us. You Tetamud Beis. Yes, see after the Shema. Toises says a Tiretzri. In the middle, Omar Rav Nachman, just Omar Rav Nachman, he says, the reason of Moidoy oil that they admit Shashtar Nichtav Kuminim Sakil Chosa by Yuteb 19b in Toises Omar Rav Nachman, in the middle of Toises Tiretzri. Middle. If you want to count from the beginning of Toises is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 lines. There's a Tiretzri. Yes, from the third Toises, 17 lines. If you count from Ri, instead of making crazy, I'll go directly to the point. Go. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, oh, so many, 29. 29 lines in the Toises, so. Aloy. No, that's before. V'amona Sharei. First one line is Sharei. Sharei no moedim sheshtat. V'amona, the last word in line is V'amona. Toises V'amona nami nire. What's the word nami nire, rabbis? What is also looks? Means a definition, even though it wasn't so clear in the definition. Okay, what is that? V'amona nami nire. What's the word nire mean? Looks like, appears. What's the word appears?
means from their dust, they're looking at this way.
So what is the other way to look at it?
Ah,
So you see clearly Toysis himself wasn't clear how to define Amona.
no, they're not clear about what he said. Not
No. He's saying, no, so then makes it easier. Amona Nami also looks like the reason why Rav Nachman does not believe they don't destroy the shtar, which means they agree it's internally is okay and they find from outside. But really, one second, you can say Amona, if it wasn't for that they were wicked, it will be believed for a different reason. Because from the old rabbit, instead of saying, I'm not believed like Rav Nachman because internally I agree it's okay, I want to break it from outside, they say Amona is not external, it's a possibility, you can perceive it like that. But you can argue and say, no, Amona is not internal, like you right away is, Amona is internal.
Because of Choshev.
Because they never let the money, so it's no loan. So true was the Asan Ischayim to make a loan and trust me, but it was no loan at the moment. So start trusting no loan, so it's no loan. So it's internal. You could look at it as internal, external, but it really is internal of the Pashas. So they says, no, one second. So what do we gain? The whole guy of Kibbein, that he has a kasha. So you go, I don't know what pushed choices. So we said what pushed, because by Moidoy, I'd rather say so Sofa, that they say that they're arguing that you can make a meal against a shtar. They're arguing on the rules. Rather say the arguing the definition. It's much easier. By Amono is external. Nobody would say it's Sofa, it's an edit. Because it's not only external, it's external and internal. And yet I believe, because I believe legal against a shtar. It's now. Because Amon is not against a shtar. It's like Anusi Masmala because they say it's zero. It goes back to like Chachomim by Anusi Masafashas. So that, that's by Amon. The only thing I define, by Amon, but how to define Moidah, I'd rather say it's Sofa. Therefore, we have a beautiful reason why they said I saw.
But we did say Rishonim. Why did not say that Amon and Nami Nire because of Rishonim? Why does it not say that?
Because the word of Nachman. Rav Nachman does all the Rishonim.
Wait a second.
He says clearly. Because Rav Nachman knows no Rishonim. He says clearly. And Amar Baramashu, Rav Nachman Tan Amon Moedo Shneim Shovim. It's not the reason of it.
But this is Mashma that was clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But one second, what's
That's it, this will be the Machlaikas. Mashi holds the Rishonim.
Yes.
And I'm not sure this will be simple the Machlaikas. Why make all this
But I'm answering you.
Why they keep
I'm answering you because Kamila says if it wasn't for a problem of Rishonim, will be believed.
Right.
Why? It's not Oisofa. It's unbelief against me. It's a shtar. So I'm saying no. By Amon, it's not Oisofa, but they saying the shtar is zero, like Anusi Machmas Nefoshes. The Chacham says they believe.
And what Barashi will say?
That's my Barash. And Moidoy is Oisofa.
And what Nachman will say the same thing.
Yes.
So no,
Rav Nachman says that both is external. And you agree the shtar is a shtar, so not believe it's a shtar. And Rav Nachman says Moido is Oisofa. And Amona is if it wasn't that they were showing,
we believe that.
we believe for different reason because there's like Anusi Machmas Nefoshes and there's no shtar bichlal. Very simple. And I rather say that because then I minimize the machlokes. I'm not arguing on the rules. I'm arguing on the definition. That's why I saw it in the beginning of this year. I want to show the rabbits that all the options all use the same thing. And by a tnai, how do I define a tnai condition? By a tnai, everybody agrees works. So Toysa says pirush tnai. Tnai condition is adding it. They explain they explain the eagles. Comes Toysa says tnai is oisofa. She holds that moidor it's like oisofa, but not mamish oisofa like tnai. It's oisofa to the point that I'm not considered choisu magi, that I cannot speak, and therefore I'm not totally fine the shtar and migo works. For the complete star, so any migo, nobody comes in like I showed the Kabinir. The Xerasakosa, knocks out migo. If it knocks out Eidu, surely migo is not. But when the Eidu is not finished totally, because I'm adding, because I was allowed to licht like tonight, but not mamish tonight. That is mamish sofa. Here, I don't even need a migo. But here, because it's sofa, it's not so the Gemara of the Choyzer Uman is not there, and therefore I believe in a migo. This is the language of Tosha. Read it again. Tosha says, ולא ארינו דמו יסחרי. מכל מוקם כשקסרים ומאחר, נאמונים במיגו, אויל ואין חויסים לגמרי אידוסם. Since they're not totally retracted from testimony,
What are you reading now?
reading Toises and Mobasar and Tet Pshan Mabarabash. Why they believe by Amono, sorry, by Moido, was Oisofa. Oisofa alone is the not by Tznai. He says no. Oisofa only makes that they're not Choiser from the Eidos. And you need a Migu that they believe when the Shah is not Yoitzim Okamach. Okay, this is really what I wanted to say in this sugya.
How can be also,
In this point.
how can be
I just want to add the Even Ozel into the equation because until now we brought the two sides of the Nesivas. The Even Ozel, he brought a third possibility. What was his third possibility? By the way, before I jump to the Even Ozel, if you look carefully in the Birkas Shmuel and Chafei and Chavav, in the end of it, and we read it inside, those that did learn the Birkas Shmuel well will enjoy what I'm saying now. B'ezrat Hashem. Oh, here is it. I will show you the words. Show you the words. Show you the words.
In Baba Basra or
No, in Ksubes. Here, in Ksubes and Chavzayin. And Chavzayin, the last piece. Yes. Yes, a kasha from his Rebbe. Why by Anusi Machmas Nefoshois? What is kasha? We said that Anusi Machmas Nefoshois, according to how they believe, and according to Rameh, they not believe because since the loiv is Mekayim the shtar is complete. So therefore, only Mezuyov knocks it out. Okay? So he wants to know what about Migu? There's still a Migu, like the Even Ozel's kasha, it's still a Migu according to Rameh. Shamati Mashki Meshem Rabbi. Rabbi Salzar asks this question, Kovitchu asks the question, the Birkas Shmuel brings that the original question was the Rebbe of all of them. Chaim Levi asks this question. What about Migu? They believe me that, he says, believe me that I paid it because I could have said Mezuyov. Or believe that there were Anusim because I could have said Mezuyov, or be quiet.
right?
What about a Migu? Even there's no Pesha also as a Migu still there. So he answers, I want to explain the answer, is really redefines the rabbi that we've spoken to now.
In the Birkas Shmuel.
In the Birkas Shmuel, Venira Afinus Daiti.
Where is it? Which column?
In Gimel, in Simach of Zayin, Gimel, second paragraph. The last paragraph of the page. Venira Afinus Daiti. What's give us smoke? The Avikim is Svora da Rivomo Basra, Nasser Rabba. The Tirtzu. The Idechon the Anil Chai Momon. One witness can obligate money. But I have an option to knock him out. This is the Kiddush he said. This is the rabbit. He says, what the rabbit is, he says, your mouth, you're talking in one mouth, half this or that way. How do you define it? He says, one witness is not two. So why, when I say I grab, the story of Rabbi Yada, right? I grab mine. One witness says he grabbed. Grabbing by definition is stealing. Says the contradicting to say that it's mine. But only one witness said that. So he says no. But when I agree to the witness that I grab, so then the Yivam says it's like two witnesses. Why? Because one witness, you only can contradict him with an oath. But to money, if you don't contradict with an oath, he obligates you money. But you have an option to contradict with an oath. But when you don't use exercises contradicting with saying not true, rather sure I grabbed. So therefore it's a complete edus of like 280. Aval ki moide bika when I admit to the main words of the witness that I grabbed. So then the one witness is a complete Eidim, Gemurim. Liam Mammon, reference to money, I can't say I grab mine.
Why?
Because grabbing means stealing is not yours.
Okay, but
The point is, you want to say the same thing as here by Rabbi Meir, and we adopting it to Rav Nachman by Moidoy and Amona. And we have to say what's the opposite. That's what we did today. So I'm going to start here by Rabbi Meir and adopt it to the same, the same logic, the same rabbit. That's what I want to give to you. In concept. We say there's a lock and unlock. What's the lock? How he unlocks the lock? How can Rabbi says that they are not believed when they say stars not a star? When they say it was an oinus. It says by the Torah, star is considered a complete star, complete testimony. Only when he claims a ziyuf. Only if I claim not true, not like the witness and I swear, but if that's the only way out. But when I don't want to exercise that way out, the stars are complete. When I don't deny the star, they don't never and I believe to say anusim according to Rabbi Meir. Number one. It's a Mimela. Number two. I'm not strong to weaken the star. The Dafke Eidim, other Eidim from the street. It's about to explain the Choshu Mikvar star, that really from the beginning is a star. The Agodosh Baal Pelah Klumu. Aval Eidim from the street. But it's the same Eidim, he cannot speak anymore, so the Eidim are out. And my Migu, it's a star because you have like an Eidus against it. It's head to head. So I'm saying here, everybody agrees to this rule, according to what we say in the Torah. It's not like Givei. Everybody, even Rav Nachman and Rav Baravashi all agree that the star is complete. When I agree that the star was Kil Chosoi, only Eidim, external Eidim from the street can knock out. Only Eidus can knock it out. Any Migu, nothing can knock it out. And if I don't have the power of Eidim because Choyzer Umaki, and I want to use Migu, get out. Migu doesn't help. Nothing. Yes, part of the Zerator is out. It's a swirl. And nobody argues it. He says, no, maybe Baba Rasha argues on that. No, he doesn't argue on that. Ayamona, Yamakashi, Ayamona is no, for sure, Zaro Isofa, you're right, Zaro Isofa. But there's no problem that instead of defining it externally, I said it's zero. It's not a star, because it was a trusty. It's much easier to say like Rav Nachman is external. The need it has to pump it. They say he has to push the svara. Explain Rav Nachman. See, that Avon is different. That even without avlo, they'll be believed because they say it's like anusim achmasav. There's no shtar. Instead it says a shtar outside. That's Rav Nachman has to work hard to say it's svara. They need it. So therefore, that's simple. Amana with force and father we believe according to Rav Baravashi. And Moido is Oisafa. Oisafa means that it's not Eidus against a star, I'm with the star. But if I want to have against a Migu, nobody will argue on that I cannot find Migu. Rav Meir agrees to that. Rav Nachman, even according to Rav agrees to that. And Rav Baravashi agrees to that. That's the force of places. Michiro, the Svarino. Why to say that arguing head to head against a star? There's a sword right away jump. There's a shah, there's an Eidus, you cannot find it with a Migu. And Rabbeinu Yoina brings down, we brought it down, he says, part of the Gzeras HaKosu, Kevan Shigi Chuchoyzer Mumagi, once I said the testimony, I cannot go back, it's saying, if you cannot continue with your Eidus, so Migu is not believed. Only Eidus. Once Igi, you're not Chuchoyzer means no, you cannot destroy with another Eidus, so definitely, Migu is out. Part of it is saying, definitely Migu is out. Gzeras HaKosu. I know it's all in the definition of the Gzeras HaKosu. How to read it. So instead of saying that Mahala should argue on that, Michicho, I'd rather say he doesn't argue on that. He's just saying that the definition is only something.
Some people say no Michicho works in Chabedi.
What?
Tosis says, but not this Tosis says.
Yes.
Eidim is no Michicho. This Eidim is no Michicho. You don't know what the Eidim
There's no Michicho against Eidim, right? And against the shtar, the same thing. Yes, it's a small pashas. Okay. Mussar Shmuz. We're going to do Mussar Shmuz. I'm going to give out the papers of the new sugya. The new sugya is Mipim Lepixol. Mipim, I tell you where is it. It's a very small sugya it's a very big sugya. When the Gemara is only a few lines, it's in page 20, the next Amud, Chaf Amud Aleph, it says, it starts by Tanu Rabbanon. There's a star there. See the Star of David there? Tanu Rabbanon is the last word in the line. This is 2, 4, 6, 8 lines on the bottom. Learn Rashi well and Toises well. There's a long Toises here, which starts on Amud Aleph all the way down with base in the bottom. Okay? Toises brings a lot of different definition and define a document. This is a very, very important sugya. Actually, from all the sugyas that we learned, this is actually the most important sugya. Why? Because the other sugya was, how can you find a shtar? Here we ask you how I define a shtar. It's a little bit also, we said, what's required kiyum, how to define the shtar when it's in the kiyum. It's also important. But this is also, what's defined as shtar? If I write my testimony on a piece of paper, it's a shtar. I want to give a testimony, I'm afraid to forget, I write it on a piece of shtar, a piece of paper, it makes it a shtar. 2 makes it a shtar, 1 not. No, there's nothing to do with it. It's Das HaMischayim. We're going to find his Riv, there's Toises Yerushalmi, there's Sugyonim, there's Rashi and the Sugyo. There's a lot of definitions. This is very, very mucho importante. Where's the Spanish? Not around. They're not around? Knockout. Okay. But Bezrat Hashem is a new Sugya. Anybody being involved? It's a beautiful Sugya. We have papers. It's a really beautiful, one of those beautiful Sugyas in Ksubas, actually.
What is it? 28?
20A. 20A2. In English.
Till the Mishnah on the
No, not till the Mishnah.
Till when?
Till the top of the page, the next page.
Okay.
Until Tanah. That's all. Small sugya. There's a Rashi, there's a Toises here, there's a lot of Rishonim here. But really, it gives us a definition. What makes a document? A document, what makes a testimony? Because you cannot give testimony through writings. So why shtar is different? It's a testimony, but it's an investigative testimony. How do you define that? We do learn that this is very, very important sugya lomdus and understanding the essence of shtaros. This is the heart of the sugya. What is shtaros and define shtaros? Very important. Learn this. Learn well, slowly. Each and the Rishonim, etc. I'm going to speak about next. What?
Okay, got it.
That's all. Yes, it's small Gemara. Do it slowly. What it says in Rashi. What the Toises goes through the opinions and Toises goes through. The Rabbi Yochanan. There's a long Toises that goes all the way on the base.
So where in the Gemara on Kaf Amud base?
Tanah.
Okay.
That's all. We'll give out the papers, and I'm going to send it out. I don't know. I want to print it and send it to you. Somebody wants to print it right now? I have here the papers. Or you want to send it to Shleiman?
Yeah, you can print it now.
Here, print it now, at least 1 copy. For the guys to have it. What? Yeah, this is one of the Moshe's already learned. The Israelis are already learning this. Yeah, 16 pages. There's a short sugya in the Gemara. There's a very big sugya in the Shulchan. It's a very big sugya. It's actually, that's the essence, that's the heart of this, of the sugya of shtaros and ksubas. It's very important. Very important to define it. There's big of Chaim Alevi in this. It's very serious. Okay. If he learned the sugya of shtaros without learning the sugya, he didn't learn the sugya. You don't really have what it's about. Here, the Rishonim, the Riv, Rambam, where we learn shtarot from, Kiddushi, it's a whole world. What shtar makes a shtar and define it as a big of Chaim Alevi in this. I'm sure Birkas Shmuel, I didn't see Birkas Shmuel, but I'm sure Birkas Shmuel has to speak about it. So it cannot be somewhere he speaks about it, has to. Anyhow. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem. I want to talk about Mussar Shmuz here. Something which I saw in Gemara in Menachos, page 43b. Very famous Gemara. I want to define, which I saw one line in Tosfos, which gave me excitement to speak about it. The Gemara there speaks about Menachos, page 43b. The Gemara there, the whole Amud speaks about what is tzitzis. You guys have tzitzis? Father used to say, where's your tzitzis? The Rebbe used to say, where's it? Show me your tzitzis, right? What is tzitzis about? Where's your tzitzis? She said, remember? Where's your tzitzis? And the other day I had somebody donated money to the yeshiva, a boy from the yeshiva, that now he's married with kids, etc. And he told me, listen, there's one thing I remember from your father. Where's your tzitzis?
You said that?
He said, yes. Where's your tzitzis? Show me your tzitzis. So at least he remembers that. He's religious. He gave a nice donation, 50,000 shekels. Nice donation. The payments, he gave the donation to the yeshiva, very nice donation. He says, I will never forget your father. Where's your tzitzis? And I was always ashamed. I knew it. I'm passing my next time. I have to make sure where's tzitzis. Where's your tzitzis? He said, tell him, why are you not wearing a shirt? You're wearing a tight shirt. You want to show your body? Show your tzitzis. Remember, he used to say that to people, if you guys remember. To the young guys, he used to tell them, where's your tzitzis? Oh, at least something goes in, you know. Education. So talk about the parsha of tzitzis. Okay. So the Gemara says, bring the Tanat Veliyahu says, not a Gemara, that Moshe Rabbeinu asked Hashem, hey, all week long we're tefillin in our heads and our arms. Shabbos, and we don't want tefillin, how are we going to remember Hashem? He said, don't worry, Shabbos you have tzitzis.
Shabbos, yeah.
You have tzitzis on Shabbos. You don't have tefillin, you have tzitzis. It says in the Torah that when you wear tzitzis, it reminds you all the mitzvahs. There's a whole Omid here in Benochas Ben Gimel 43b, how it reminds you of mitzvah. The morning you wear tzitzis in the morning, you look at it, in the morning when it's light, and you wear tzitzis, all the mitzvahs starts with the light, because mitzvah shagrom, the zman is going. So it reminds you all the mitzvah shagrom, it reminds you of mitzvah skilayim, reminds you all the mitzvahs, whatever. It all goes on, and if you have tzitzis in your clothing and tefillin, you'll never sin. Goes a lot of things. Then the Gemara brings like that. Tanya Rabbi Meir used to say, greater is the punishment of the white. Somebody doesn't wear white from Cheles. Why? Moshel Ledar Adoyim. It's a moshel similar to a king, Melech Bosov Adov, flesh and blood. Sha'oma Lishne Avodov. He told two of his slaves, one he told him, bring me Aveli Choitom Sheltit. Give me a stamp of clay. The Le'echad number one, he says, Aveli Choitom Sheltit, give me a stamp of gold. Uposhu Shneim V'lo Yiviu. Both of them were negligent and they didn't bring it. Which of the slaves will get a bigger punishment? Why? Because it's very common, Rashi says, motzui. Teeth, clay is very motzui. Gold is very expensive. Okay. Not rare, hard to get, etc. Comes Toises. And he brings a Gemara in Shabbos, page 57. And this really lighten up to the definition what is tzitzis about. So where's your tzitzis? From now on, you're going to have another understanding where your tzitzis, what does tzitzis represents. It's simple, but it's a toisus. That's the ikar. Zohar Chaim HaKodesh an hour parsha, and he adds to this svor a little bit more, to this a little bit more. Choitam shaltit, mashe medam choitam shaltit letzitzis. What's the dimyon? What's the comparison between a stamp made out of clay and to tzitzis? We learned in the morning tzitzis, right, Rabbi? Learning tzitzis in the morning, laws of tzitzis for the last month in the yeshiva in the morning. Rabbi Abramson is not here. Rabbi Shaw is the substitute teacher. Tzitzis. What's the difference between a clay stamp and tzitzis? Sheken oisim la'avodim. Slaves, you clay stamp. V'atzitzis made al Yisrael. The tzitzis testify on Jews, Shem Avdei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that they are slaves of Hashem. Where we know that? It says Gemara Shabbos, page 57. Kavlo de'avdovna. The Gemara says a woman can walk out in Shabbos with this, that. He says kavlo. What is kavlo? If it's kavlo of a slave, Rashi then Shabbos that Jewish Kala says means choisom. You know cows or animals, dogs that have a stamp on them that the veterinary says it's kosher, no problem, there's no disease. Slaves used to walk around with a stamp. Why? Don't steal it. You need to steal, you have to cut the ear, you have to cut the leg, right?
Don't steal the slave.
It belongs to, it says that it's kosher, but it belongs to this master. So every slave, the Gemara in Shabbos says, Kavlo de Avdo. Every slave used to walk around with a clay stamp, and the clay stamp defined which master he belongs to.
It was on his body.
I don't think on his body.
Well, where you what in his hand? He walked around? Carried it around?
I don't know, on his clothes, I think, but let's see. Let's see, Rashi in Shabbos, page 57. I think I saw it in clothes, but I don't want to say by heart. That's what I saw. Rashi says, Rashi, Kavlo de Avdo, Nun Zayin over here. Rashi says, Choisom sho'oisim lahem b'ksusoi. A clay stamp they make for the slave and his clothing. L'simon eichocho, for a sign to prove shu eved, that is a slave. He has to walk around with a sign, I'm a slave. So if somebody's a slave of a king, he wears the same sign. Toisa says, tzitzis, it's choisom. Tzitzis, it's a sign that we belong to a master. Which master? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is a sign in Oichocho, Siman Lochacha, a sign and a proof that this guy's a slave, walks around with, and if you ever saw, I went to China, went to Forbidden City. Every slave of the king used to walk around with a little wallet. Wallet. That was the definition of this. He had a special wallet. I don't want to say it was inside. The testicles were there. Because they made him sarisi. Sarise, Amelech says in the Megillah that the servants of the king were sarisim, yeah, really. And this when I went there, and this is what it says in the Megillah. I read it so many times. I didn't write in the chap. Why all this sarisi Amelech? Saris means castrated. Why we call the servants of the king of Hashverosh sarisi? So the Gemara says by Daniel that they castrate Daniel because they wanted him to stand for many hours, and if they stand to serve the king many hours, they have to castrate him. Right? But otherwise, they don't have that power. They have destroyed the power. They're just very strong to be servants of the king. Really? So they have to walk around. You can define when they walk around. This is the king. This is a servant of the king. They used to wear special clothing with a special belt. But you know that's a servant of the king. Don't mess up.
You said they walked around with it in their pocket.
Doesn't matter. Just the concept. Don't get involved.
Good.
The point is that tzitzis is a siman and oichocho that we are a slave of Hashem. That's why the Sfaradim and the Hasidim they wear the talis and tzitzis outside. Ashkenazi says enough that the strings and tzitzis outside. Whatever it is, why has to be outside? Because this is a sign and a proof that we are slave of Hashem. This is also a reminder. Here, I'm not my own. I can do what I want. This is a reminder that I'm an Eved Hashem. Kavlo da'avdo. This is choisom shaltit. This is a stamp on our clothes of Siman Lechoda. We Eved. We are slaves of Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Comes the Chaim HaKadosh and he says, that's why you're not allowed to change of the clothing. Can you change and touch the choisom? Put 3 strings, 4, 5 strings, 5 corners, 3 corners. Can you change the stamp? The stamp belongs to you. The stamp belongs to your master that he stamps in you to show that you belong to him. If you start touching and messing around, you're not a slave. You're touching the ayin, the essence of the simon of Eichok and Avdus.
No, it's the master's Ratzah.
Master Ratzah. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Abakan voice, he can do 5 and 3. If he says 4 strings, can be, represents Hashem's name, 8 represents the 2 Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei Nat, and he goes through everything, all the simonim inside, and it's 8 and 5 knots and 8 strings. It's 13. 13 is Ahava, the Ahava, and there's also Echad, 1 or Hashem. There's all those simonim, which means when you see a dollar bill, the government puts a lot of signs in there that nobody can forge, and has special signs, a lot of stuff that you can't touch. It's a whole world behind. Hey, don't mess around with the stamp of Hashem. Stamp that is a sign and a proof. Siman that we have in Hashem. Wow. So if somebody taught he didn't touch the gold sign, it was very expensive, he gets less punished. But the white, which is very common, you're not touching, you messed around with a white. They asked Rav Eliashiv. It was in the newspapers. I didn't see it inside. I didn't hear of him. I didn't see the book, but I saw the newspapers many years ago. They asked, "What's a non-religious purposes? I can do one thing: or wear kippah or wear tzitzis. What I should wear? Kippah or tzitzis? Tzitzis is the ohaisa. Kippah, it's a definition of identity of religion today. So what did he say? What to wear? I remember the newspaper said kippah. Even though today there's a very big trend, yes, there was a very famous few musicians and singers in Israel, the state of Israel, that they're not religious. I mean, they don't wear kippah, but it's time to wear tzitzis. I remember the other day, half a year ago, I walked with my wife a couple of times in Mamila here, and there's an area where there's a lot of stores. And I stopped for a second. Me and my wife stopped. We couldn't understand what we see. We see a guy who wears like a Don Juan, like a really, I say pushtak. And he has a wife that totally uncovered, but he wears tzitzis. I said, what's going on? I don't know if you guys realize it. It's becoming a very, very big, it is. In thing. And a lot of people, they wear tzitzis. So I thought, Rav Eliashiv said then, but it could be today. We go back to the original song. That tzitzis, it's a choisom, not less than a kippah. It's a doraisa choisom. There's a real sign. This is the choisom shaltit of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that is a siman and a sign and a proof that we have in Hashem. So if you ask me after that, I see the stoices, especially even today, you see that it became an in. Fine, you should wear tzitzis before kippah. Even Eliyashi maybe will admit today that you should wear, because he said then, it was 10 years ago, I don't remember how many years ago it was, I don't remember anymore. Then, kippah represented religion, they're not religious. But even today, those who wear tzitzis, they can have a girlfriend they're holding in their hand. Not really, but they wear tzitzis, which means I'm the middle guy. I love Hashem, but leave me alone. But if you wear a kippah, say, how can you touch her like this? That Philistina. But the idea is that the feelings that we walk around with a stamp, siman v'yichocha, that we have the Hashem. We cannot mess around with it. We learn in the morning tzitzis. There's a rip, the Torah said a rip. You have to be very careful how you sew it. So this way now, so many details. Like Rashi, Amra. We're learning already for 1 month almost, 2 or 3 weeks. We didn't even finish the tzitzis. Yes, this is very serious, very exact. And it's a choisom shel Hashem. Hashem should give us a bracha. As the Lord Nefila, before he died, he picked up the tzitzis and he cried. There were a couple of kopitos, a couple of shekels. I can be kind and mitzvah is worthwhile. because this is the sign and the ichocha that we have to Hashem with us. Hanania ben Akash Yoime, Rotz HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'Zach Yisrael, Lefikach, here Bolem Torah Mishnah Ma'or Bezaman Tzitzel Dovedik. 1 second. In the daven mincha is the kiddush of my son, a little son, Mordechai. See him. Then he finished the Bukal Aleph. The Bukal Aleph. So my wife says, no, make him a Stephen Isha. I said, okay, I'll make him. It's honoring my wife.
When are you going to say Kaddish?
I say
Not
Kaddish.
Kaddish, are you going to do Tachanun or not?
No, but I do Tachanun. I said I do it for my wife, not my wife. Abichananya ben Akash Yoime, Rotz HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'Zach Yisrael, Lefikach, עיר בו עליהם תמיד שאני לא בזמן שאני לא יודע,